church, my dad explained on our drive to church. Okay, Daddy, got it, my 3-year-old self confidently responded. Cue me, 20 minutes later, crawling under the pews to sit with Nora. No one stopped me. I was successful in my escape. Maybe they didn't even notice. After church, my mouth started to water, dreaming about that jelly-filled powdered donut from our weekly trip to White Rose Bakery. When we went inside, my brothers all ordered, but as I went to order, my dad said, "No donut this week. You crawled under the pews." Devastated, I dropped to the floor in White Rose, sobbing and banging my fists and head on the ground. He silently carried me to the van, where my meltdown continued. The boys and Mom all came back into the van with sugar, jelly, and chocolate-covered faces. And my mom said, "Next week, maybe you won't crawl under the pews if you want a donut." From being that tiny human at White Rose Bakery to a 20-something adult teaching tiny humans, I noticed familiar patterns of discipline and response to emotional outbursts. I was raised in a power-over culture, from societal messaging to my master's degree classes on classroom and behavior management. So by the time I was in charge of a classroom, it was deeply ingrained in me to try and stop big emotions from spiraling so that I didn't lose control of the situation, of the children. Sure, kids would have feelings, but it was my job to either remove them from other people, just the way my father pulled me out to the car on Donut Sunday, or not feed attention into it and let it fizzle out. This felt right to me until one day, during a therapy session, my therapist made the most ridiculous statement. "I wonder what that sadness is trying to tell you." Sadness doesn't tell you anything. It's just a feeling. It's a bad feeling that you can cry out while binge watching Grey's Anatomy and then it's gone and you can go back to regular life, I responded. "Sadness doesn't feel like a part of regular life?" she asked. I got defensive in the moment, but that therapy session changed things for me. It sparked my curiosity. Did our emotions tell us things? What does that even mean? That was the start of my journey diving into all things emotions, and it would radically shift how I experience life. Back to our brunch. We were at a brunch together in 2016, surrounded by tiny humans, when Lauren said, "I think we're doing something different and should write a book about it." We had met as new teachers at the same school. I was an infant teacher and Lauren a preschool teacher at the time. We observed each other teaching and recognized something familiar in one another. We weren't afraid of children's feelings or challenging behaviors. We both had assistant teachers requesting to be scheduled in our classrooms because they had noticed we were doing something different, because we were confident when things got stressful, as they inevitably do. Our teammates were curious about our approach to the children's emotions and challenging behaviors too, because it was innovative, nothing that they'd studied in their child development or early childhood courses. Parents were intrigued, marveling at the ability of each of us to stay calm in a tense moment. We both arrived early and chatted regularly about our work with children and families. Before working together, we'd experienced learning about a new teaching or parenting approach in a calm moment, and then losing our cool in the thick of it with kids, not being able to put the new approach into practice. We needed a method that didn't simply consist of what to do in the moment with a child, or even how to practice outside of the moment, but how to access that information as an adult. We needed something that was just as much, if not more, about us than it was about the kids. We wanted to be able to describe what we were doing. We have master's degrees in child development and early childhood education and have worked for a combined 31 plus years in the field of early childhood education. Yet the method and framework we were seeking didn't exist. So we created it. Slowly and methodically, we started to unpack the steps involved in helping children understand and express their emotions. We shared stories of individual personal growth from our pasts that were related to emotions and had required reflection and vulnerability. We started to make connections between our personal work and our work with children, and noted how we and the children processed emotions in these different contexts.